Thanks for joining me. I'm Scott, and this is a 1968 Gibson Les Paul Custom, serial number 916736, and it's in for headstock restoration. Someone put some Grovers on it, and he wants to revert back to the original waffleback tuners. 1970s versions of these things, man, boy, were they heavy. I owned a 75, and I'm seriously still in rehabilitation for my time owning that thing. Neck and shoulder pain, crazy. But this one's not that heavy. You know, this one's from 68. It's maybe, 9 pounds. Some of those 70s ones, man, there's memes out there joking around about them being heavier than a black hole. But yeah, mine was probably 13 pounds, and it almost killed me. The other thing about these guitars is they call them fretless wonders. Because, I mean, the frets are like 18 thousandths of an inch tall. I mean, some people like their frets to be like 50 thousandths tall. You can't even bend a note on these, but they were good for playing in the style that Les Paul himself played. Black Beauty, they call it. But yeah, like I was saying, Les Paul used to fly around the neck, playing real fast, sliding up and down. He didn't never do too many bends, and so he liked low frets. But this first thing I did with my 75 was have someone refret it. That was back 20-something years ago, before I got into this too much, and had them put some super jumbos on mine. But to each his own. Some people like their guitar to play like this. Jazz guys, of course. I love these witch hat knobs. So this is what we're going back to. Now this one's like twice as wide as the other one there. This one, obviously got to plug it. This one's actually not that bad. And either way though, I've got this it's new to me, this method of plugging these old holes, but it's going to require me to refinish this thing. And yeah. Here's a look at the old Grovers that he had put on there long ago. And with the Grovers, seem to work okay. So when I'm done with it, I want to get it where these holes in the backside are just a 1/4 inch, the same size as the shaft. Then I'll bore it out a little wider on the top surface for these bushings. There's a special cutter for that. First, I'll make sure the holes correspond with the dowels. Now these ones are slightly loose. This one was extra loose, so I glued in some veneers. This one's tight, and these ones, it won't even go in. And yes, I'm using these fluted ones from the hardware store, and you'll see why in a little bit. But it's nice because the black epoxy that I'm going to use, this will give it a lot of tooth to grab onto. And I'm going to chuck this up in the drill in a minute, so you'll see why I'm using these fluted dowels. Next, I'm going to use my reamer to just widen this a hair. Perfect. Do that for both of these tight ones. And just one turn maybe with that. Perfect. Nice. Still a little tight. Actually, I lied earlier. I said I used veneers, but this is actually just a single plain shave of spruce. And I'm gonna cut one more little piece for those other two that were slightly loose. I'm gonna glue these two in with gel super glue. That'll give my dowel a little tighter fit. So the gel super glue, I use a guitar string to spread it around. Now that I got the piece in there, I can press it up against the side and use a little bit of accelerator. Now this one's a little tight, and so I shortened the length of this piece. That will decrease the inside diameter of the hole. And this piece, this dowel, I tapered it with the violin peg shaper. It's basically a pencil sharpener for violin luthiers. Look what just landed, guys. It's a brand new 57 Les Paul Custom from the Gibson Custom Shop in Nashville, Tennessee. It's, what are the chances? Two! Here's the old one. I've got two black beauties. And this thing rips. It's Nashville, Tennessee. Look, it's got the waffle back tuners too, just like the except they have like plastic buttons. And oh, it has a nylon nut. Isn't that something? This one's not nearly as heavy. This one's only 8 pounds 14 ounces. Good job, Gibson Custom Shop. Keep 'em coming. Well, look at this one here. This one, the Jared James Nichols. You know, it's kind of weird. It's got the carved top in the single pickup, non-adjustable pickup, ebony fretboard, big, chunky Les Paul Jr. sized neck, stinger, locking Grovers. You know, it's got all the custom stuff on the fretboard, except this is weird. I thought this was really weird. There's no more inlays past this, the 15th fret, which I don't like. I wish, you know, I don't know where to put my hand. What the heck? The side dots stop there too. But anyways, it's Pelham blue. It's got binding, top and back, bound fretboard. Jared James Nichols. It's kind of heavy. So it's kind of like a Junior, but it's kind of like a Les Paul Custom. And it's kind of strange. But it's supposed to be a blues guitar because it says blues power on it. But alright, here's another new Gibson kind of throwback back model. It's a 1950s LG2. Remember me working on the LG1 like a couple months ago, I hope. And this one's more like, I mean, the one I worked on a couple months ago was a 66, and it has this like reversed belly bridge. So this one has the skinny bridge, more like the 50s, and nice sounding guitar. A lot of tune, but it's a nice guitar. Okay, so this is what we're shooting for. Little dowel pieces that have a hole in the center, 1/4 inch hole on center, and they are cut to a 0.575 to 0.58 inches, and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so the first thing I did is I put the drill bit into the chuck backwards and then lowered it into the vise, tightened the vise, loosened the chuck, and the bit went up. Now I take the dowel and put it in there loosely. By the way, I saw this on like Dan Earlywine Trade Secrets with Frank Ford. Frank is kind of a machinist type of guy. So let's go. I have to tighten the chuck a little bit more than that. But I don't have to reef down on it or anything. And they say that this finds its way to center better than if you tried to put the dowel into the vise. So now I can take it over to the bandsaw. I'm going to measure out to, see, perfectly on center. I'm going to go to 0.6. I'm going to mark it and cut it here and then do the final sizing on the disc sander. So I'll do 5 more just like this and we'll be in business. Well, here we are. I've got my plugs all made up and I like the way they fit. I'm thinking about labeling them 1 through 6 so I get them back in here the same way. Anyways, the other thing I was thinking about is what I said earlier, using epoxy. I think that's a bad idea just because of the cleanup and stuff. I think, you know, the problem with epoxy is that I could come back a half hour later and gravity could have, like, some of it could have oozed out and gotten on the, you know, underneath here, and it'd be really hard to clean up. So I want to use a water-based glue, and I want to be mindful of the tone the effect that it'll have on the tone of the guitar. I do believe that these 2 points where the string is attached are the most crucial, down at the bridge and up here at the headstock, that I use a super hard glue, a rock hard glue, one that doesn't have a lot of flex in it, because we don't want to lose any of that vibration from the string into the neck because of a rubbery glue that, like Titebond. I don't want to use Titebond, and I could use hot hide glue, but I think hot hide glue's a little thin, and I want something thicker that'll get into the fluted areas of each dowel. So I think we're going to use fish glue. Yep, fish ass glue ass. Okay, the story behind the fish ass glue ass is, like, I used to work at this car wash back in about 1990, I want to say it was. And this one guy, he heard this comedian doing some skit where he was talking about ask this and ask that. And he liked to eat fish and chips. Well, he was walking back with his fish and chips back into the car wash one day, and I called him fish ass chip ass, and it kind of stuck, and the jokes went on forever about the fish ass chip ass. But all right, so we got fish glue, and I need to get it off my hand. All right, just gonna take a little bit of fish glue, just a dab. I like the smell of it, but I've been known to cook with fish sauce. Like Thai food has a special ingredient in it. It's called fish sauce, and it's Boy, some stinky stuff. But it adds a little extra flavor to dishes like pad thai. You know. Ass Fest. That was the comedy skit. Ass Fest 92 or Ass Fest 89 or something. I don't know. It was. If you guys remember the comedian that did that skit, let me know. Maybe I can Google it now that I remembered what it came from there. Anyway, this fish glue, I think it gets into each little flute, and that's going to be a nice bond. You know, I like to use the String Tech workstation for this because it puts this headstock up on kind of a level, you know, plane. The guitar is kind of tilted back, and the headstock's kind of level. And I'm glad I used this fish glue because I think it sets up, and it's not going to drip at all. So I'm going to get the guitar out of here and just set it in the rack, set it upright. It'll be.
I put the guitar in the String Tech workstation to keep this headstock horizontal plane. Next, I use some not fill and finish. This is StewMac number 10 thin CA glue. I've put a backer board on the bottom side just in case there's some seepage or leakage, because it seems like the fish glue shrunk back a little bit and it left a couple gaps. So the last thing I want is some voids in my headstock. But this is where we start the long, arduous process of filling in all of those low spots and divots. We're going to use some accelerator and some fill and finish. I should give a shout to glu+boost, Rick, and then Ian for showing us all its uses. It's really a time saver. This here is a Mohawk brush tip black pen. I'm sorry, no, it's not a Mohawk. That's just something from Michael's Crafts. I thought I'd try holding the guitar in the Total Vise number 7 to see if I could widen these peg holes a skosh. 1/4 inch was a little too narrow for these tuning pegs. It was a little uncomfortable actually working on it sideways. I prefer to have the guitar laying on its back. And gosh, I'm so glad StewMac came out with this tapered reamer that chucks up into your drill. You put it in a battery-powered hand drill. And, now them bushings are starting to fit. You know, those dowels are of a pretty soft wood. They're not like a really hard wood. So smooth and clean as a whistle. So I went around and dropped in a little bit of thin CA, that StewMac number 10, around the dowels when I was through sizing them up. I ran that around the inside of each hole just to harden things up. Hopefully we won't get any softwood fuzziness. But this is the easy part. The hard part is this headstock was so smashed in where all those old washers were. I mean, he must have cranked it down with a torque wrench or something. I mean, there's like a 1/16 of an inch big old crater to fill. And so that's why I was saying thank God for glu+boost. And this becomes like a few day job instead of a few month-long job. If I was trying to fill this all in with lacquer, it would take forever. I'd have to charge $1,000 for my time. But with the glu+boost, you can get it all.
Look at me. Would you just look at me?
You know, the glu+boost, you can get it all leveled up in one day. But you want to have an exhaust fan, a respirator, and then you can do that if you get it perfectly smooth. You can put on a top coat of poly, shellac, French polish, glu+boost, or lacquer. Right now I'm cleaning the whole headstock. The headstock, the whole headstock, and nothing but the headstock. I'm cleaning it with Scotch-Brite pads. Look at all that dirt coming off. Paper towels. Sometimes I rub cotton balls on a bigger area. Try to minimize witness lines. But another thing that would help minimize witness lines sometimes is not to get too abrasive. You know, don't go too low of a grit. Maybe you want to only go like 1,000 or 2,000 grit as you're sanding.
All right, so here we have it. Sorry, we kind of ran out of time this week. We can't, I couldn't show you the entire refinishing process, but for the most part, it was a lot of the glu+boost, all the different thicknesses of it, the thin and the medium and whatnot, and the ultra thin, and it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of sanding, and it was really messy. But we got it to a point where I think it matches the, the original kind of relic look. It's got a little damage on the neck, and it's kind of dirty down here on the body. Well, let's give it a listen. Sorry I let you down, but if you want to see all of the finish repairs, go to my page there and you'll see playlists. There's playlists on lacquer finish repairs, poly finish repairs, and I call everything else other than lacquer, I call them poly. Just so you know, if it's catalyzed varnish or whatever, I'd call it poly. So while you're there, you'll pass across my store too, and I noticed a couple of you bought some t-shirts, so that really makes me happy knowing that there's Harpeth t-shirts running around in the world. Thank you for that, and we'll catch you later.